Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode 14.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Hi there, it is Adam Franklin from the Web Marketing That Works podcast, joined as always by Toby Jenkins. How are you, Tobe?
Good, thanks, Ads. How are you, mate?
Good, thank you. This is the show for people who love marketing on the web. You will be taken behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments where we look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. We will confess what's failed and reveal the truth about what really works.
This show is brought to you by our new book, Web Marketing That Works, and specifically the bonus templates that go with it. The bonus templates, there's 33 of them, and you can download them from bluewiremedia.com.au/book. And thank you all so much for your support of the book so far.
Now, the guest for today's show is Llew Jury, the founder and managing director of Reload Media. He's actually been a friend and mentor and consultant for many, many years, and we partner with his organization to offer SEO services to our clients. And Llew is somewhat of a web stalwart and industry veteran who has had a lot of success. And in today's show, we actually talk a lot about the key things that he does from a marketing point of view and some of the things he does in terms of recruiting and attracting his team, which he's very, very generous in attributing to the success of his company. So are you ready to begin, Tobes?
Sounds good.
Hello there, it is Adam Franklin from the Web Marketing That Works podcast, and I'm joined by Lou Drury from Reload Business Group. Welcome, Lou.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. Now, Lou, you are the founder and MD of the Reload Business Group with 65 staff in Brisbane and with offices in London, Auckland and Manila, and you offer the full suite of digital marketing products. You've also been the Young Business Person of the Year for the Lord Mayor's Business Awards, as well as a mentor at River City Labs and QUT, and a member of the Australian Institute of Company Directors and a fellow of the Australian Institute of Management, as well as one of 50 Queenslanders to make headlines in 2013 and a regular writer for the Fairfax Media Good Technology Business blog. That's a lot going on there, Lou. And I also just wanted to add that you personally have been a friend and a mentor to myself and Toby for many years now, and we've admired not only what you did with one of your earlier businesses that you then sold, but more recently with Reload Media and Reload Consulting and all the businesses that make up the Reload Business Group. So thank you for joining us. Now, I've given a brief overview of what you do there. Would you mind filling in a couple of the gaps and telling our listeners what you do and what Reload Business Group does?
Sure, Adam. And thanks once again for having me on board. And that was a good introduction. There's lots that has been happening with Reload. We're a team of approximately 65 people worldwide now, and we're growing all the time. We head office in Brisbane in Australia, and we've now got a really good offshore component and office of our own in Manila, as well as our London office, which is just last weekend just expanded into a brand new shiny office near the Shard, actually in London. So, we've got some growth and expansion going on internationally. I think the big thing for us is, as an owner, or for me anyway, as an owner, is that I've got some great staff, and they've been the main key to everything you just mentioned then in that intro. Where we are today needs good leadership, of course, but I think the big thing for us is those 65 staff that have stuck with us, and they're also growing professionally as well.
And Lou, if you had to describe your web marketing philosophy, how would you describe that?
Our philosophy is all about, and it's been like this from day one, Adam, it's been about treating a digital business like a traditional business. And by that I mean not sort of doing traditional media, TV, radio, and all print and things like that. It's more about people, and they wanted this back in 2006 to 2008 when I started to set up Reload Media. They wanted a company they could trust that acted and dealt with in a professional way, a digital marketing company that shook their hand, looked them in the eye, and treated them as a business rather than sort of a new jargon-based technology. And I think that our whole web marketing strategy, which is SEO, PPC, social media, digital strategy, things like that, is really framed around that philosophy of great customer service and making sure that it's marketing and business first, and the technology is a vehicle to drive their business.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, you've been on quite a decent and successful business journey so far. For listeners that don't know Lou as well yet, one of the earlier businesses Lou had when I first came across him was Alfresco Media, or Alfresco Web Design.
Yeah, Alfresco Design.
Which you ran for 5 or 6 years, right? And then you sold it at about the same time that I started Blue Wire and you were starting Reload Media.
Correct.
So if you look back on your business and web marketing journey so far, either the Alfresco days or the Reload days, what has been one of your major aha moments?
Well, I think the first one is really around the education cycle of digital marketing. What we're seeing today with SEO, PPC and social is what happened back in the early 2000s and late 90s, of course, with web design. And web design had to go through an education cycle to get people on board. I can remember in 1999 running around town to try and get a $500 website signed up, and I used to have a laminated piece of explanation, education in my file, in my folder, to sort of show a small business why they needed a website. And if you then fast forward to when we set up Reload Media, we kind of had to do the same. We had to get out there and say why your business needs SEO. And I think the big aha moments, both for Alfresco and also for Reload, are really around educating the market and being there at the right time. So they're the first couple. Then, of course, from a tactical level, there's all the small ones. Look, the biggest aha moment at Reload is really around hiring a chap called Craig Somerville, who's 25 years old now. I hired him when he was 19. He's already finished his MBA at UQ. He's the chairman of the Young Management Advisory Board for the Australian Institute of Management. He heads up our global expansion, and he owns, a big chunk of our business as well. So we're the two only directors of the business, and he's been huge on the journey. So young, awesome talent, and he's now the CFO, of course, and a director, as I said. Nice.
Now, part 2 of the podcast, Lou, is talking about marketing experiments. And I like to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, of course, we've all had some good successes with marketing. So let's start there. What have you tried that's worked well? And can we delve into some specifics?
Our marketing has really been around that word of mouth piece. It's from day one has been about relationships, coming back to that treating it as a traditional business, but treating it as a business. And the marketing has then stemmed from there. So that's been the PR, if you like, tying in with the SEO from day one, making sure that we've got our brand equity really strong and our reputation really strong out there in the market, and really making sure that the way that we go about our SEO on our blog and our news and our social media channels is really about touch points about becoming an authority in our industry. So I'd have to say from day one we've done that SEO piece on ourselves, if you like, really, really well. The other thing is we've always been a big fan of conversion optimization and engagement. So engagement from getting the right people to the right AdWords, landing pages, for example, and then doing a lot of testing. We love testing and doing A/B splits and all that sort of stuff. So we've been doing a lot of that from early on, and even way back in 2001 when I started doing SEO for Alfresco, we were ranking pretty well for Web Design Brisbane back in 2001. We were still doing split tests back then. So I've always loved that test and learn piece. So yeah, look, there's a lot there that has done very well.
I'm right with you there on the A/B split testing and testing all the marketing. It's so much fun, at least for geeks like us.
It is.
Now, to get to those successes, obviously there's got to be some failures along the way. Are you happy to share with us what you've learned along the way from what's failed and what you would do differently?
Look, I mean, my motto is fail quickly, fail internally, and fail cheaply. And I think that we do a lot of little things we try out and fail, and then we just move on within 3 or 4 hours, not 4 or 5 days or 2 years. So that's our motto. We've done things like set up sites like morehits.com.au, or we've set up things that if you went and registered that domain, you could probably go and get it now because it just didn't work out. One of the earlier ones was probably not a failure, but we sort of had Reload Consulting, which is our consulting business, and it's a very successful business and marketing plus a digital strategy consulting arm of Reload. And we sort of tried to add Reload Media's SEO services into there. It just didn't work. So we had to split off Reload Media. So we had to literally break away a chunk. And even today I get, Lou Jury from Reload Consulting who does SEO. So, you've got to know from the start where your structure and foundation of your services are going to lie.
Okay, and Lou, this is confession time, have there been any dead set shockers from either the Alfresco days or Reload days or maybe other business ventures that haven't seen the light of day? Any confessions you'd like to share with us?
Look, I think the big one is back in Alfresco days, not putting on a management team early enough. And I think the big thing there is you need to make sure that you can't do everything. You need to know when enough's enough, and you need to know when you've got to hire better talent and better attitude, not better attitude, but better people for the roles that have great attitudes, that get in there and help you grow, because you cannot grow a business. And back in the Alfresco days, it was my brother and I rolling the sleeves up, working until midnight every day. And it doesn't sit very well with my wife, hence now why I'm in a different recurring revenue game.
And Lou, if you were starting from scratch, if you were starting your web marketing from scratch or your business from scratch, what would you be doing first in terms of web marketing?
This is a very easy one. It's about two things. One is about solving a problem that people are going to give you money for, and the other one is research. And so if you're starting a web marketing business, you've got to go and basically find out whether the thing you've thought about with a couple of friends over a glass of wine on a weekend at a barbie and gone, that's a brilliant idea. You get there on the Monday and you're thinking about starting a web marketing business. You've got to make sure no one else is doing it, no one else is monetizing it, and no one else has actually got the jump on you from an IP point of view, from a domain name, a business registration, a trademark, etc. The second thing is research. You can never do too much research, and Google's great for that. Google AdWords, keyword tools, great for that to see what the market is in terms of the actual searchability and the volumes and things like that. But yeah, I'd be doing a heap of research and then some more research and even more research.
And Lou, what's next on the marketing front for you?
From a marketing level, we're doing probably more public speaking in terms of finding a happy medium between the genius of Toby and Adam at the highest level, and also people like one of our competitors, Dan from Dejan SEO, who's become he's a technical expert in SEO worldwide. We want to find sort of a middle ground. We want to sort of keep the company going. So my marketing is really around getting out there and talking about and representing all the brands within the Reload Business Group, and not just Reload Media, it's Reload Digital, Reload Consulting, etc.
That's very kind of you to say nice things about myself and Toby there, Lou, so thank you. Part 3 of the podcast is where we dive deep into one specific area. And my question for you is, which specific web marketing tactic brings you the most joy and why?
Well, recently I've been doing a lot more outreach from what is probably now the modern version of SEO, which is content marketing. And content marketing is a lot of fun because you can do it in sort of 3 core ways. One is, writing blogs. The second one is producing great graphical content like infographics. And the third one is then video. And there's others in there, but they're the 3 key pillars, if you like, of our content marketing strategy. The thing is that I now write for Fairfax Media's Brisbane Times, and I do a lot with the Brisbane City Council as well. But what we're doing there is doing a lot of outreach, doing a lot of work in terms of giving people relevant content that is useful, and then syndicating that out there and putting that out there, and not doing it in sort of Reload's never done it in a really spammy way, but really done it in a real personal way that brings joy to people, and that's great for brand building. That's great for bringing up the brand in terms of where we see it and where we want it to go internationally. It would definitely be around content marketing and brand building.
Okay, so run us through some of exactly what you do, say with the the blogging or the articles that you're writing for the Brisbane Times.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you? How are you doing that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, Brisbane Times, like they're a Fairfax publication. They have their paid journos that are very good. And there's a couple of us that are experts in our vertical. So I write about the business technology advice. Pretty much I ask people what they would like on there, and every Monday I submit an article, and it goes up every week, and basically it's around what is out there as a bit of a pulse around the industry. So that's the first one. The other one is LewJury.com, which is LLEWJURY.com, and that's business and marketing tips. And that site really sort of ties in with Brisbane marketing to sort of put me up there as a bit of an authoritative source speaker of the Brisbane market, if you like, for anything and everything about business and technology and digital.
And Lou, we've got some advanced listeners. Would you be able to share with us a really effective pro tip?
Okay, the pro tip I would have is buy the editor of a very well-known publication a couple of coffees and see how you can partner with them, because the highest level of SEO these days is new school PR. It's all about relationships. It's all about being yourself. You can't fake it in this game, and you've got to actually be someone that has a long-term view around building relationships, having coffees, doing some guest blogging at the highest level. And by that I mean it's the cream, we call it, of outreach. It's one link from a great site overseas is going to be worth 30 or 40 links off a standard directory or blog that's relevant to Google. So it's about that very highest level. Networking is actually the new school SEO.
I love that. One of the things I actually talk about in my book that's coming out soon is the fact that you don't want to be building links. That's the wrong way of looking at it. You need to be building relationships. And I'm so glad you said that, because the number of links and the quality of your links you've got to your website or to your blog is really just a reflection of your real life relationships with real people. And of course, as you say, the best way to get to know people is over a coffee, face to face. Of course, getting to those meetings or to those coffees, social media tools like Twitter and Facebook or LinkedIn or whichever platform you prefer, they can be tremendous ways to actually reach out to these, what we call influencers, I guess, whether they're magazine or newspaper editors or whether they're key bloggers. But it's excellent to hear the fact that that's been working really well for you too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, Lou, part 4 of the interview is learning from others. Who have you learnt from, either in person or via the work that they've published?
I think our customer value proposition at Reload is all around customer service. So there's 2 key ones that I've been really inspired by. One is Branson, Richard Branson, with his whole, he just does it his way, but customer service is everything. And that's, you can read his books, but that basically is what he's about. Customer service is king. The second one is about innovation, and innovation is very important to me in the ongoing piece of entrepreneurship. And by that I mean I look closely at the chaps at GoPro and what they have done on a surfing trip back in 2000 or whatever it was, 2001, where they taped a camera to their arm in Indonesia and Australia, and that's the start of a $1 billion company, which is GoPro. So I look at it from a customer service level, and I look at it from an innovation level. Definitely those 2 individuals and organisations would be it.
Thank you. And our listeners are all very keen to learn more and read books and blogs and take courses and what have you. Are there any books or blogs or courses that you can specifically recommend for our listeners?
Well, I read a lot of Mashable and Technorati, and I read a lot of stuff online. I don't necessarily do a huge amount. I'm going to be reading the web marketing book that you guys are putting out. I can't wait to to get into that one. But look, the number one in my camp is Good to Great by Jim Collins. It really resonates with me because it's everything that we do at Reload, and I've sort of read it late in the piece. Getting on the bus. There's going to be people getting on the bus and getting off the bus. It's so true. I recommend reading it. If you don't want to read it, get the CDs and rip them down onto your iTunes or whatever, and listen to them in the car or on the iPhone. It's really well worth a read.
Yeah, I can totally vouch for that. Jim Collins' Good to Great is a must read for anybody in business. I feel it truly is. Toby and I have studied it closely and tried to implement a lot of the practices from that. So definitely well worth reading, and I'll put a link to that book in the show notes. Now, finally, Lou, have you got any closing thoughts or final pieces of advice that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think the thing to realise in web marketing and building a new digital company, or if you're just new to it, it's going to take time. You might have the best idea in the world, but you're going to have to really research. It's like setting up a retail shop. It's like setting up a traditional bricks and mortar business. It takes time to build your brand. It takes time to become an influence and an authority in the industry. But look, don't give up on your web marketing venture, because it's quite easy and accessible to really get some rapid acceleration through channels that Adam has been talking about, which is the social media channels and the general digital channels, such as through AdWords and SEO and things like that. So, look, I think like any business, it's a long, hard slog, but it's at your fingertips, especially with this book. You'll be able to get a lot of information out of it on how to create that journey and how to get a bit of a really good startup on your next venture.
And Lou, how can listeners connect with you and with your business, Reload Business Group?
So the easiest way is my Twitter handle is at Reloader, RELOADA at Reloader. That's my personal Twitter handle. Jump on there. I provide information. There's also the reloadmedia.com.au website, which is our web business here in Australia. And then there's our Twitter handle, which is reload_media. That's another one. Of course, search for us. We've got about 26,000 followers on Google+. We're one of Google's recommended businesses in the technical space. So there's, the Google+ search on Reload Media. And LewJury.com is the other one for any information about, business and digital marketing tips.
Lou Drury, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, and all the best for the continued success of your business.
Thanks a lot, Adam, and thanks for having me on the show, and all the best to your listeners too.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So that wraps up the interview with Lou. Ads, thanks so much for getting him on the show.
Yeah, no worries, Toby. It was a thrill to talk to him. What I particularly liked was the fact that, he put so much effort into attracting and recruiting and retaining good quality people, and it's very generous of him to, speak so highly of Craig and his team. I really admire that. And I also found it interesting that he takes the time to meet up face-to-face and have a coffee with journalists and other people, because that face-to-face human interaction is just really, the icing on the cake, because we have so many interactions that are web-based and they're very, very effective. But just hearing it from him that sitting down, having a coffee has been so beneficial to him in marketing Reload Media. A question I'm often asked is, how do I get more publicity for my business? And my answer is always, well, it takes a long time, it takes relationships, and it takes a strategic approach. And in fact, the worst way to go about it is to wait until you actually want publicity or need publicity, because it's far too late in the game then to be, to be shooting around press releases and whatnot at that last minute. Instead, the approach that we've chosen to take over the years is to get to know the journalists, the bloggers, and the authors in our industry, and taking the time to read their books, read their blogs, and read their articles, and comment and review, and be sincere in thanking them for being generous in sharing their ideas. And in fact, we do take a strategic approach and a proactive approach in this, in that we keep an aspirational contact list, and it's based on Keith Ferrazzi's
idea of having aspirational contacts, and he talks a lot about that in his book, Never Eat Alone. But basically, it's a spreadsheet that can be downloaded from our website. And really, when you come across somebody interesting who writes about your industry, whether it be a journalist, a blogger, or an author, jot their name into the spreadsheet and really just go about following them on Twitter, reading their blogs, commenting on their blogs, subscribing to their email list, reviewing their books, and eventually reaching out to these people just to say thank you for sharing the information that you have. And there is another template called the Blogger Outreach email template. So when it does actually come time to reaching out to particular influencers, then there is an email template that has served us well over the years as well. So we'll link to that in the show notes. But really, it is a long-term game. It's about relationships. It's not just about trying to garner attention when you want it. It's really about delivering value over the years to these people, and ideally lead with generosity and be valuable to them. Like, you can suggest stories or suggest articles to journalists and bloggers that may interest them, completely unrelated to you trying to get some publicity, but really just take a very keen interest in what they're doing and help them out. And if you do that consistently, then I truly believe that they will get to know you. And if you are generous and kind and deliver value to them, then before long you will become one of their go-to people for when they need a comment on a particular story in an area that you're an expert in. So that's how I answer that question about how do I get more publicity. A very big thank you again to Lou Jury for coming on the show.
Yeah, that's really cool. As always, the show is brought to you by Web Marketing That Works, the book, and specifically the bonus 33 free templates that go with it. So if you'd like to download those, jump on over to our website, bluewiremedia.com.au/book. The podcast is always here to deliver actionable advice, so please leave us your feedback, and questions are more than welcome. If you want to let us know via email or Twitter, they're probably your best bet. So my email address is toby.jenkins@bluewiremedia.com.au or Toby_Jenkins on Twitter.
On email, I am adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au and Franklin_Adam on Twitter. If you liked today's show, we would love it if you left us an honest review and a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, and we will give a shout out to all the listeners that give us a 5-star review. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Look forward to it. Thanks, everyone.